Seema Purima.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mm, I hope I'm visible. But thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. And it's been a very fruitful 2 days of deliberation. And as I mentioned earlier, you must take this forward by sending your recommendations to the government at various forums, the Niti Aayog, the ministries of health and family welfare, women, child development. And I have a very difficult act to follow. Dr. Srivastav's talk was par excellence, but I'm going to talk about something which is affecting all of us. What about the food environment? And there are so many concerns regarding the food that has to be eaten. How safe is it? What should we do? And therefore, I'm going to give you a brief presentation. There are lots and lots of misbeliefs and fads which are going around. Some kind of magical cures and magical preventive treatments are being broadcasted. But let's get down to brass tacks and see what is the actual situation. I'm trying to share my presentation. Can people see it? Is it visible?
मैम स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए.
स्क्रीन शेयर तो नहीं आ रहा ना. स्क्रीन शेयर कैंसिल करके. ओके. एंटायर स्क्रीन.
बात नहीं, हम कर दे रहे हैं.
अच्छा, आप कर दीजिए फिर. Like sir said, we are learning a new technology. We are used to face teaching, and now technology sometimes beats us. So I think, is it visible to everybody? No.
No. No, ma'am.
Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, so it's not visible to me, but anyway, you can guide me. So I'm talking about creating a healthy food environment in these COVID-19 times. And I'm going to kind of divide my presentation into three. What is the impact of COVID-19 on the food environments? What is the nutrition guidance with COVID-19? And the other aspect is food safety, which is relatively also very, very important. In fact, more important than the others. So as you can see, we have a lot of social distancing, closure of shops, lockdowns, displaced labor, migrants, a whole lot of environmental issues in the food environment, which are really affecting the health as well as the, in fact, lives of individuals in our country. And we do know that there has been a lot of derangement in the day-to-day food supply mechanisms, and therefore the components of the food systems are getting affected. And this is not only in our country, but it's all over the world. Now, when we look at the food environment as such, we have an external dimension, which sometimes is not in our control, and to some extent, the personal dimensions where we are in control of the situation. So the external dimensions would be, volatility in prices, availability of food, lack of vendors around the place, closure of shops, while personal dimensions would be affordability, convenience, the kind of food we'd like to eat. So when we look at this in detail, if you look at the food system, we have the food system, the food supply coming into the food system, and the exit is based on the consumer behavior. Now, what comes in between is what I've listed out here, and also to see what are the possible impacts of COVID on this food environment. So we have the external domain, which is the availability, whereas there may be, there was a big panic of stockpiling. People were buying supplies for 6 months, and there was shortage of even cereal grains, pulses, and things like that. There could be import-export restrictions, fruit and vegetable shortages, and donations in food banks and things like that. Then, of course, food prices, they're still going through the roof, particularly for fruits and vegetables. Shortage in supply chain, and therefore there are shortage of food products in the market. The access to reach the market has been hampered with states closing their borders. And because of that, a lot of food wastage is also happening. And then, of course, new policies coming in where shops are not allowed to open, malls are not opening, only essential items are available. At the personal level, accessibility. So less access because you cannot go very far off, whether the food that you're getting near your house is nutritious or not. Then a major impact has been on this government programs, ICDS, midday meal. Because the schools have been closed, children are not getting midday meal. There is going to be a tremendous long-term impact on the nutritional status of these children. So these social protection measures have got disrupted. And of course, while online ordering has become very common, there are limited limits to that also. And then, of course, affordability, I don't need to emphasize on. Convenience is there, and then desirability. We are all purchasing more ultra-processed foods, and because we feel they have a longer shelf life and they're easier to cook, and people are not ordering from outside, they're going more into cooking, so there is that ease. And all this affects the consumer behavior, which ultimately affects the diet quality. And the diet quality, once affected, will lead to malnutrition, like I said. And our goal is to avoid that. Our goal is to actually have sustainable, healthy diets for all. So this is one example. Shopping is something we look forward to today. It is the only connect we have with our old world, with the normal life we were leading. But even that is fraught with a lot of problems, as you can say, long queues, social distancing, non-availability, and things like that. So what are some of the policy actions which can be taken to improve the food environments? Our ultimate aim, remember, is to support sustainable, healthy diets for all. So these are broadly based. These are given by the UN, so they are globally based. But many of them can apply to our country, and many countries have adopted these. So promote smooth food trade. Support and protect smallholder farmers and get them the market access. Support the planting and harvesting cycles. Support local food systems and link them with major food chains. Monitor food prices, food security indicators, malnutrition. Dr. Srivastava has gone into this in detail. And adopt subsidies and taxes for nutritious food. Again, strengthen and adapt social protection policies. So programs like in ICDS, now they're promoting take-home ration, but that itself is not being implemented so well. Include food systems and food supply chain actors as essential services. So again, protecting these workers, even your Zomato and people doing home delivery, they need to be protected. Upkeep of fortification programs, and then support major food providers to undertake need-based purchasing so that there is availability in the market. So many governments at all levels are applying this, but a lot more needs to be done. Now, at the personal food environment level, what can we do? We have to improve accessibility and affordability. We should look at food rationing systems. It may be a very drastic issue, but I remember in the 1960s when there was war, food rationing was being done. And if it comes to that situation, it may need to be adopted. We need to use the food-based dietary guidelines as the basis for healthy diets and form policies based on that. And most important is to strengthen nutrition education and messaging, because there are a lot of myths going around. Invest in scale-ups, explore digital and other innovative approaches for food provision. I mean, today if you see, all online platforms are delivering groceries. Reach vulnerable populations, improve wholesale markets, support local government actions to strengthen food supply and food environments. So whether it's the local RWA or the local civil society, we need to support them. And we must remember it should be a human rights based approach. So everybody has a right to food. And it's very sad when you see all these migrants who are traveling 1,500 kilometers without food. It really hurts. It really pains to see that we as Indians have not been able to support them.